again.
Good to see you, yeah. What do you got?
Let's start with Thomas. He's a runner that can throw, but do you see the complete dual threat package in that kid?
Absolutely. He's really embraced the system, and he's worked very hard. He's taking it one day at a time, but he's trying to get better every single day. But he's definitely a guy that can do both, no doubt about it. I think he's a really good football player, and I'm glad we have him.
Can you start to tap into the creativity he can bring to that position as well?
Yeah, I think, look, you guys were out there today. I think, we'll do a lot of different things. We'll be multiple in our personnel groups. We'll be multiple in our scheme, and we'll take advantage of all the things he can do. I think that's the key. That's the type of system we run. It's a quarterback-centered system around who the quarterback is and what that guy can do, and he can do a lot, so it's good.
We noticed a quick release in the practice today, too. Is that something he was working on? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, when obviously with all the guys that I've worked with, the most successful guys were the ones that had anticipation, had the ability to get it out quick, good decision makers, and understood that, the rush is coming, so we can't hold it too long.
Right.
We need to make good, quick decisions. I think Tommy tried to do that today. Yep.
Still kind of like day one in class. How do you feel like it went with the kids?
Yeah, it's good you said that because most of these guys take 4 classes, some take 5, right? And I told them this is their 5th or 6th class this morning, so it's interesting that you asked that question. I think that these guys are doing a really good job. I love coming to work every day to work with these guys. They pay attention. They're on time. These guys get up at 5:30 in the morning. They work out with us. Then they go to class. They eat lunch now, and then they go to class, and then sometimes come back at night to meet on football. So they're into it, and I really appreciate the effort that they've given, to this point.
How much do you look at last year, what worked, what didn't work, versus putting your own spin on it?
What's that again?
How much do you look at last year, what worked, what didn't work, versus putting your own spin on it
Last year at BC?
at BCU?
Yeah, no, I would say this
Not
is
at all.
totally different. Yeah. I think you have to judge everybody based on what you do, how you do it. They did it a certain way. We do it a certain way. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. It's just different ways to skin a cat. So we, we'll do it. We'll do it the way we believe in, and we'll make evaluations off of that. But to this point, it's been really good. The guys have bought into how we do things, and it's been good.
Does the continuity of the roster help a lot?
I do think, yes, absolutely, with having some guys that have played a lot of football here has been good. They understand, what it takes to play at this level, a lot of the veteran guys, so it's been good, absolutely, no doubt about it.
In terms of follow up on what Rich was asking about Thomas, how important is it with the way the college game is played now and with what you want to do offensively to have a guy like that in place when you get here?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think a guy that can, that has the ability to throw and has mobility, athletic ability to make off-schedule plays with the way the college game is played now, I think is very important. So, like I was saying to Rich, I think I'm really glad we have Tommy. And I'll tell you this, the other guys are doing a really good job too. Grayson, Jacoby, Matt Reevy, really doing a good job of picking up the system and taking advantage of the reps that they get too. So, and they're all really good athletes. Some are bigger, some are, different type of athlete, but they're all working hard to get better every day.
In terms of culture, day one, what are the messages you're trying to instill?
I think it's, it really is. It's one day at a time. We need to be a hard-working team. We need to be a smart team. We need to be a team that plays with physical and mental toughness. We have to be a team that doesn't beat itself, right? We have to do a good job at the line of scrimmage, staying on sides, getting the line correctly, understanding what the call is and how to execute the call on both sides of the ball and on special teams. So I think that's the big thing, for day one, is to try to make sure we create that culture. It's been created in the weight room for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and now we carry it over to the football field.
Well, what are you looking for? What are you watching as you go about your business here, especially on day one?
Yeah, no, I'm watching. Well, for this practice here is the organization of practice, the rhythm of practice, which I thought was pretty good for day one. We got a lot of things done. We want guys, getting a lot of reps. I don't want anybody to come into the post-spring meeting with me and I tell them where they are on the depth chart and they say, well, I didn't get any reps, so how do you, well, I want them all to get reps so they're all evaluated. Go back and watch the tape. But I think in the beginning is just teaching them how to practice. This is how we practice. This is the drill. This is what we're trying to get done in the drill. This is the 7-on-7 period. This is the team period. What's the emphasis of each period? I think that's the big thing in the beginning, and then we go back and we watch it as a film and we evaluate and see what we have moving forward. But I think, like today we got off to a pretty good start doing that.
Coach, along those same lines, first time being out there with your full staff, How'd you think the coaching continuity?
I really like the staff. I think that's a huge selling point for us in recruiting. We have a veteran staff, a good mix of guys that have coached here before, guys that come in with a lot of experience. We got a lot of NFL experience on the staff. I think that's got to help us in recruiting. You know, people talk about developing players, and I would put our staff up against any staff in the country as far as developing players and having the ability and the knowledge of how to do that, based on where we've all been in our experience. So I'm really happy with the coaching staff. It's a good bunch of guys.
Bill, two questions that are kind of off the field. There's so much talk right now around college football playoff and expansion, new contract, all the money that's involved.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised in some of the brand in the ACC that they're kind of out of the shuffle a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do understand the question. I think, I was on a Zoom call last week with all the coaches from the ACC. And when I look on that Zoom call, I see a lot of great coaches, right? And I see Dabo Sweeney, I see Mac Brown, I see Mike Norvell, I see Pat Narduzzi. I think we've got a good league. I think there's, like you said, there's basically 3 conferences in college football right now, with the SEC, the Big Ten, and the ACC. And I think we have our niche. And I think the team that wins the ACC or is up there in the ACC championship game, they have a shot to go to the playoff. They'll do some damage in the playoff. I believe that. I think this is a good league with a lot of good players and coaches. So I believe in the ACC.
And you had a connection with Mac Jones going back to Alabama. Just your thoughts on what he's like as a professional and what a fresh start's going to mean for him in Jacksonville.
Yeah, look, I'm focused on Boston College, but I always wish Mac Jones the best. I enjoyed coaching him, and he worked very hard for me at the Patriots, and I wish him the best. And I believe in Mac, and I think it'll all work out for Mac.
You mentioned how you spoke with each player individually. What were the biggest takeaways from those conversations you had?
It was a chance for me to get to know them. It was a chance for me to hear about their families, where they grew up, where they went to high school, how they ended up at Boston College. It was really them talking to me. And I think that's really important in the beginning is, how can you coach a guy if you don't really know him at all? And so it takes a while to get to know 100 guys or thereabouts 100 guys. But I think that's really important for me to do that. And that's a continuing process that I'll continue to do. But just as an initial meeting, it was all about them and just getting to know them initially and where they're from, family, how they ended up at BC, those types of things.
Comment on Donovan Azuruku. Have you met him? And is he like the kind of hybrid defensive end that is the new system in college?
Yeah, Donovan is a very productive player. Can do a lot of different things. He's a guy that I think you're right. I mean, we're going to move him around a lot. He's a defensive end. He's probably listed on there as a defensive end, but he'll do a lot of different things for us. So he's a guy that is very smart, very good player, good leader. He's got all the qualities you're looking for in a BC football player.
Yeah, but like college football, almost like every team has a Thomas now. So do the defenses have to get smaller and faster to accommodate that kind
I
of
think in some positions, you have to think about that because it depends on who you're playing. But it definitely is, a space game, and you gotta have guys that can run out in space. But there's other teams that play it a different way. But most of the teams, you're right. And I think that's what we'll do. We'll try to, get our best 11 on the field at all times, depending on who we play.
Coach, a guy like Pop Sai, transferred from Senegal.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you didn't know much about him. Have you learned about him? And
Yeah.
have you seen anyone the size of him before?
Yeah, no, he's. I really enjoy Pop. I've really enjoyed getting to know him. He's a very positive guy. And if you know anything about his background, it hasn't been easy for him. And to end up where he is right now and to be a guy that could help us, I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. He's a young player. He's still a young player. But to come from where he came from and to be here now is really cool. He's a good guy. I enjoy being around him. He's always positive, got a smile on his face. He's a good guy to coach.
Bill, you mentioned BC football player. Have either any alumni football players or you reached out to any of them to kind of, get them here to kind of
Oh, yeah.
maybe a Flutie or Matt Ryan?
Oh, yeah. I have a group text with Flutie, Halloran, Matt Ryan, the Hasselbeck brothers. I want to say Brian St. Pierre is on there. I've known Brian for a long time. Brian coaches at the great high school of St. John's Prep up in Danvers, Mass, where I went to high school. But yeah, no, I've texted with Luke Kuechly, Stephen Boyd. My best friend is Mike Panos. Pete Kendall, Drew Kendall's Dad is stopping in to see us this week. So, yeah, there's a bunch of guys that I've reached out to that we're in contact with, in addition to a lot of other people that love BC that maybe didn't play football at BC but went to BC and want to help us. So I think the alumni, I think that's another huge part of our recruiting, is the alumni network that exists at Boston College is a huge advantage for us when it comes to these kids that play for us.
How important do you think that is to the kids, especially to see some of these guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important. I think we have to do a good job as a coaching staff of teaching them about the history of Boston College football. We've begun that a little bit, but we'll dive more into that as we get going here about, Coach Bicknell and Coach Coughlin and Coach O'Brien and all the great players that came here before us and coaches. And so we'll do a good job of teaching them the history of BC, because I do think that's really important.
Obviously, a lot of continuity on the offense, but also a lot of new skill position players, guys like Jaden, Kamari. What
Yeah.
are your initial impressions there?
I like those guys. I think they bring different qualities, right? Jaden being, JB being a big guy that can go up and get the ball. Good route runners in that group, good hands, instinctive guys. I really like the group, and I like the way they work. They're working really hard.
Can you talk a little bit about your new defensive coordinator, Tim Lewis, what connections you have and what you think he's going to bring to you?
Yeah, so I've known Tim for a while. We never worked together, but I know a lot of people that worked with him or worked for him and spoke incredibly high of him. And I think he's going to have a tremendous impact on the program and on these kids that he's coaching. He's got a lot of experience, and he's a guy that's been around, but he's got a great person. The more you guys get to know Tim, he's got an awesome personality, and he'll have a tremendous impact on these players because he cares and he understands, and it's great to have him on the staff.
Matt Applebaum had a really good connection with this offensive line, even in 2 different stints. Is that one of the reasons you kept him on? Or?
Yeah, Matt came highly recommended. There's a lot of people that I knew that knew Matt, came highly recommended to me from the previous staff, but also that I had known from other, guys that I've worked with in the past. And I think Matt does a good job, and these guys believe in Matt. And, so I think that was one of the main reasons why I kept him.
Time for one more.
No more. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. Thanks for coming out.
Have a good day. See you guys.